It has been an awful summer in Australia with extreme weather and terrible consequences. Thunderstorms and hail have been pelting eastern sections of the country, but strong winds have also created dust storms. Drought conditions and the bushfires remain a serious problem. This fire season is hardly over. Miles O'Brien has been reporting from there for our regular coverage on the leading edge of science and for the weather app MyRadar.
The bunker gear is hung and dry at the Bairnsdale Fire Department in East Gippsland, Australia. For now, the calm after the firestorm 10 days earlier. Captain Aaron Lee, his 12-year-old son Ryan in tow, took me to the spot in nearby Sarsfield, where they waited and watched the flames approach.
We had a lot of vehicles parked here the 1st December as like a first rally point. Fire was putting up a fair bit of smoke straight out ahead of us. So
you're looking at the fire, pointed toward the fire.
We're basically looking at the fire, yeah. So.
Nearby, the fire is still smoldering in a peat bog. When it roared in, it took 20 homes. But Lee and his brigade, all volunteers who left their own families and homes behind, worked tirelessly, saving countless others while constantly facing instant decisions on where to take a stand.
Paddocks, you have to protect the assets where possible with what resources you've got. And sometimes assets aren't defendable. We literally have to go, well, sorry, we can't defend that because it's too risky for us. So.
At the command post, firefighters still have their hands full, coordinating the fight against uncontained wildfires covering a huge swath of southeast Australia. Across the country so far this fire season, more than 24 million acres have burned, killing 24, destroying 2,000 homes. The fires have also taken a terrible toll on wildlife, injuring and killing millions of the unique species that live on this island continent. Brett Mitchell is the incident commander here.
We've been fighting these fires since November, so fatigue is a real issue we have to manage. We do have teams coming in from Canada and the United States to give us a bit of relief, which is great. I really appreciate that assistance. But we can also get new starts as well, so lightning can start new fires as well. So we're not only dealing with these particular fires, but quite often, given we're in January, we can get over 100 new fires start.
The unprecedented fires come amid record drought and heat. Farmer John White is the mayor of the Shire of East Gippsland.
It's been extraordinary, and people who have known the bush all their life have just described the fire behaviour as something they've never seen before. I think in terms of area, it's possibly burnt close to 60% of our area.
Mayor White is grateful his fellow countrymen have rallied to help farmers like him in this time of great need. On Saturday, a convoy of trucks carrying hay rolled into town with a police escort to speed the way. Besides agriculture, the area depends heavily on tourism. But with the fires looming, authorities were forced to evacuate 30,000 people enjoying the Christmas summer holiday. Businesses on Main Street are hurting, but it's too soon to invite the tourists back.
It's difficult to say we're in recovery while we still have a fire that could bust out anywhere over the next 6 weeks and actually cause similar devastation where it's not burnt now.
Fire has always been a part of the landscape here in Australia, but this year it's different.
Yeah, the fire season of 2019 in Australia is really a perfect storm of climate events, to be honest with you.
Lyndon Ashcroft is a historical climatologist at the University of Melbourne. She says a stronger than normal shifting ocean current called the Indian Ocean Dipole is at play. Like El Nino in the Pacific, the dipole changes winds and sea surface temperatures. This year, it has blown warmer water toward Africa, allowing colder water to surface near Australia. The colder air there contains less moisture and fewer clouds, creating drought conditions. Meanwhile, the air above Antarctica became unusually warm, which triggers windier conditions for Australia. And all of this happens as the climate steadily warms.
We had tinder dry forests, we had really strong winds, we had a temperature or a climate that's a degree warmer than it was 60 years ago. And all of those things combined just made it exactly right for a devastating bushfire season.
And it might be exactly right to change the public discourse on climate change here. Australia generates 80% of its electricity with coal and gas. It is the world's third largest exporter of fossil fuels. The country's Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, has a long history of skepticism and denial of climate science. But with the fires raging, he is now saying he hopes to evolve climate change policy. Amanda McKenzie is a leading advocate for action on climate change in Australia.
I think the fires have changed everything. We don't know just how much that has impacted people yet, but the trauma will go on for some time, and I think it will fundamentally change how Australians look at the issue of climate change, but it also will change how we look at the federal government.
Here in Southeast Australia, it is impossible to ignore the crisis at their front door. And while there is some evidence opinions may in fact be changing, not everyone recognizes the urgency.
This has sort of become a generational thing in terms of people picking up on it. And yeah, I'm not a skeptic, but I hope they're wrong. I really do. I hope they're wrong, because that would be a disaster for the planet.
Yeah. Do you worry about Ryan's future and what this, as the trends go up, what that might mean for living in Australia?
Yes and no. Yes, there's climate change there, but how much of it is actually having an effect on what we're doing here? Look, I base my decisions on information. If I've got the information, I'll make the decision, basically. So, you know, if I'm fed the right information, you know, yeah, look, I might be less sceptical.
There is some evidence that the political inertia on climate change may have met its match with this wildfire season. On Sunday, the State Environment Minister for New South Wales, where I stand right now, Matt Keane, in the same party as the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, said many members of his party have widespread belief that they would like to take greater action on climate change. The Prime Minister's response? No one at the federal level even knows that Environment Minister. Judy?
Fascinating. And Miles, tell us about the situation there right now.
Well, there's been some rain over the weekend, and that's helped a little bit for the firefighters, allowed them to contain some blazes. By no means did it put everything out, and by no means does it solve a drought that has lasted 3 years. And the rain does it's a two-edged sword, Judy. I'm standing here, you can see the soil behind me is pretty much stripped, denuded, and too much rain can lead to mudslides and flash flooding. And then also windy conditions. And of course, rain leads to thunderstorms. Thunderstorms lead to lightning. And that's what started many of these blazes. So it gives and it takes away. And people here are hunkered down because it is still early in this fire season. Judy?
Still sounding like a long road back. Miles O'Brien reporting from Australia, from New South Wales. Thank you, Miles.
You're welcome, Judy.